There's a voice that wakes up before you do. It doesn't need an alarm. It doesn't need coffee. It doesn't need permission. The moment your eyes open, before your feet even touch the floor, it starts talking. And you know exactly which voice I'm talking about. It's the one that tells you, you're not ready. You're not built for this. You've failed before. You'll fail again. It's too hard. You don't have what they have. What's the point of trying? Stay in bed. Stay where it's safe. That voice is your enemy. It's not your protector. It's not your intuition. It's not your truth. It's your mental parasite feeding on doubt, feeding on fear, feeding on your hesitation. See, negative thinking doesn't start as a thunderstorm. It starts as a whisper, a comment, a moment of hesitation, a tiny seed that grows roots while you're not paying attention. And before you even know it, that whisper becomes your default language. You start repeating it to yourself without resistance. And when the voice speaks, you don't question it. You believe it. You become it. But here's the truth. Nobody told you when you were young that voice is not you. It's not your spirit. It's not your identity. It is a recording built from pain, built from criticism, built from fear. Built from people who gave up on themselves long before they told you to give up on you. You didn't enter this world doubting your worth. You were not born thinking you were too late, too broken, or too weak. Somewhere along the way, someone handed you their voice, and you didn't even know you could refuse it. Let me make something clear. Negative thinking is not your nature. It's your conditioning. You weren't born talking yourself out of greatness. You were trained to. You were trained by failure. You were trained by fear. You were trained by people who never chased their dreams. You were trained by your past. You were trained by rejection. You were trained by moments that hurt you so deeply that your mind decided never again. Never risk. Never try. Never hope too much. Never expect anything good. Never believe too hard. Never fly too high. That voice thinks it's keeping you safe. But safety is not your calling. Comfort is not your destiny. Staying low, staying quiet, staying doubtful, that is not why you were given another morning. Let me ask you something real. How many opportunities have you lost because you listened to that voice? How many times did you stay silent when you should have spoken up? How many times did you hold back when you should have gone all in? How many dreams did you bury because the voice convinced you it's impossible? How many mornings did you surrender your greatness before the day even started? You don't need an external enemy when you have an internal one that talks you out of your own future. But today is different. Today is the day you stop mistaking that voice for your own. Today is the day you hear it say, "You can't," and you respond, "Watch me." Today is the day you take the volume knob and turn that negativity all the way down. Because no matter how long you've carried that voice, no matter how familiar it feels, your mind still belongs to you. And you have the power to evict that intruder. And the first step is awareness. You cannot defeat an enemy you refuse to confront. You cannot break chains you pretend aren't there. You cannot win a war you're afraid to admit you're fighting. From this moment on, every time that voice shows up, you do not bow. You do not break. You do not negotiate. You recognize it. You call it out. You talk back. This is the beginning of the fight. Not with the world. Not with your family. Not with your circumstances. But with the most dangerous enemy you've ever faced. the voice that lives in your own head. And hear me clearly, you may not have chosen the voice that trained your doubts, but you will choose the voice that leads your future. When you came into this world, you didn't arrive with fear. You didn't arrive with hesitation. You didn't arrive questioning your worth. You didn't look at your hands and think, these are not enough. You didn't open your eyes and believe you were destined to lose. Every child enters this life with possibility, not limitation, with hunger, not hesitation, with curiosity, not self-criticism. And do you know why? Because doubt is learned, fear is absorbed, insecurity is inherited, negative thinking is passed down generation to generation like a virus. No baby refuses to walk because someone else walked first. No child gives up after falling once. No kid says, maybe walking just isn't for me. They try, they fall, they get back up. They fail, they push again. They wobble, they move forward anyway. They don't care how they look. They don't care how long it takes. They don't compare their pace. Then something happens. Life starts talking. People start talking. Pain starts talking. You grow up, and the world hands you labels. Not smart enough, not talented enough, not attractive enough, not capable enough, not ready, not worthy. And you believed them, not because they were right, but because they were loud, because they said it before you learned to say the opposite. Because no one told you that other people's voices don't outrank your destiny. Let's make something clear. You were not born with limits. You were taught them. You were not born thinking small. You were conditioned to. You were not born insecure. Someone else's insecurity bled into you. You were not born scared to dream. You were told dreaming was dangerous. Negative thinking is not your original voice, an echo of criticism, an echo of failure, an echo of disappointment, an echo of comparison. Think about it. A lion raised by sheep starts believing it's a sheep, not because it is, but because it was surrounded by voices that told it so. You've been living for years with thoughts that do not belong to you. Thoughts that were handed to you by people who stopped believing in themselves a long time ago. But here's the truth. No one told you. Just because you inherited the voice doesn't mean you have to keep it. Just because the doubt was passed down doesn't mean it gets to stay. Just because the fear showed up early doesn't mean it owns your future. You've been fighting battles in your mind with weapons someone else left there. And today is the day you drop them. Because once you understand that self-doubt is not your nature, everything changes. Once you realize you were trained to think negatively, you understand something powerful. If it was learned, it can be unlearned. If it was planted, it can be uprooted. If it was introduced, it can be replaced. You don't need permission to think differently. You don't need applause to believe in yourself. You don't need validation to rewrite the story in your head. You were born bold. You were born curious. You were born hungry. You were born ready. You were born with fire. You were born with potential. The world dimmed it. Life buried it. Fear smothered it. But it is still there. And if it's still there, it can still rise. But here, before you rebuild, you must remove. Before you rise, you must release. Before you think new thoughts, you must stop bowing to the old ones. This part of your journey is not about learning how to be confident. It's about remembering that deep down, you already were. Negative thinking only. wins when you forget who you were before the world told you who you couldn't be, and now that you remember. Negative thinking doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It builds itself over time, piece by piece, like a cage made of thoughts you never meant to believe. It starts small. A failure, a comment, a comparison, a moment you felt alone, a time you tried and it didn't work, someone you trusted who said, "Be realistic," someone you loved who made you feel like you weren't enough, and instead of healing, the mind collects those moments like evidence, proof that doubt is safer than hope, proof that fear is smarter than trying again, proof that potential is risky. But let me make this very clear. Negative thinking is not caution. It's not logic. It's not humility. It's poison. And poison doesn't always kill you fast. Sometimes it kills you slowly, silently, thought by thought. You know how poison works. You don't feel it right away. You don't drop instantly. It spreads. It weakens. It corrupts your system until the strength you once had becomes a memory you can barely touch. Negative thinking is exactly like that. It poisons your confidence. It weakens your willpower. It spreads into your goals. It drains your energy. It convinces you that playing small is wisdom. It convinces you that doubt is discipline. It convinces you that failure is final. But the biggest lie it tells you, this is just who you are now. No, this is not who you are. This is who the poison has turned you into. But cycles end the moment you decide to interrupt them. You ever notice something? Negative thoughts rarely travel alone. They bring friends. One bad memory triggers another. One failure pulls up the next one. One mistake opens the door to every unfinished dream you've buried. That is the cycle. And if you don't break it, it becomes your identity. Let me speak directly to your soul for a second. You do not have to keep thinking thoughts that make you feel small. You do not have to agree with every negative voice that shows up. You do not have to let your past speak louder than your future. You do not have to accept fear as your permanent language. You do not have to let mental poison make a home in your mind. The first step to breaking the cycle is not positivity, it's interruption. You don't have to be instantly confident. You don't have to feel unstoppable. You don't have to force fake motivation. You just have to stop letting negative thoughts run the same route every day without resistance. Every cycle breaks the moment something interrupts its rhythm, and that interruption is you. Every time a negative thought enters your mind, you don't have to let it sit. You don't have to entertain it. You don't have to argue with it. You don't have to prove it wrong. You just have to refuse to feed it. You are not obligated to water weeds in your mind. Let me ask you this. If you had a garden and poison ivy started growing, would you say, well, it showed up first, might as well let it stay? No, you'd remove it, root and stem. So why do you let poisonous thoughts grow in the most valuable soil you have, your mind? This is the moment you stop babysitting your doubts. This is the moment you stop protecting your pain. This is the moment you stop letting fear narrate your life. You don't owe your trauma a permanent place in your thinking. You don't owe your doubters the satisfaction of being right. You don't owe the old you another day of control. You don't owe negativity another ounce of oxygen. The cycle ends when you say so. Read that again. The cycle ends when you say so. Not when it feels easy. Not when it disappears on its own. not when someone comes to save you. You end it, and the moment you interrupt a negative thought, you create space for a new one, even if it starts as a whisper. Because before you win in life, you win in your head. Ember. You don't just wake up to a new day, you wake up to a new battlefield. And the very first thoughts you allow into your mind are either your armor or your enemy. People don't realize this. Your day doesn't shape your mindset. Your mindset shapes your day. And your mindset is born in the first hour of your morning. Most people lose the battle before they even get out of bed. They wake up and immediately check their phone, scroll through other people's lives, absorb the world's negativity before they've even spoken to themselves. Remember yesterday's failures. Revisit old pain. Think about everything that can go wrong today, and then they wonder why they feel tired before the day even begins. You cannot start your morning with mental garbage and expect to win mentally, emotionally, or spiritually. Let me tell you something real. Your morning is your reset button, not your replay button. Some of you wake up and hit play on your stress. You hit play on your doubts. You hit play on your past. You hit play on your insecurities. You hit play on everything that broke you. Stop pressing play on pain as if it's your morning playlist. You don't need a perfect morning routine. Stop overcomplicating it. You just need power in your first decisions. Here's the truth. The mind is weakest when it wakes up. It's open. It's moldable. It's listening. Whatever you let in first will try to run the show. If the first voice you hear is negativity, anxiety, comparison, or fear, don't be surprised when the rest of your day feels heavy. But if the first voice you choose is strength, purpose, and self-command, you set the tone. You lead the day instead of being dragged by it. Listen carefully. Don't start your morning by remembering everything you're not. Start it by reminding yourself of everything you can still become. Don't begin your day by thinking about what you don't have. Start by grounding yourself in what you're capable of creating. Don't wake up and reach for distraction. Wake up and reach for direction. You don't need motivation every morning, but you do need discipline. You need intention. You need mental authority. Your mornings are not supposed to be comfortable. They're supposed to be controlled. Ask yourself right now, what did I feed my mind when I woke up today? Was it power or poison? Because negativity isn't always loud. Sometimes it's silent. Sometimes it's passive. Sometimes it's disguised as, I'll start tomorrow, or I'm still tired, or I don't feel like it today. Let me tell you why so many people stay stuck. They let their mood make their decisions. Champions let their decisions shape their mood. You can't think like a winner at 3 p.m. If you think like a victim at 7 a.m., your morning doesn't need to look like anyone else's, but it must belong to you. Not your fear, not your phone, not your past. Take back the first 10 minutes of your day. Not for noise, but for clarity. Not for reaction, but for command. Not for distraction, but for alignment. Every morning gives you a chance to change the story, but only if you stop waking up and rereading the old one. This is not just about success. This is about survival. This is about breaking mental patterns that have kept you locked in cycles you were never meant to stay in. Write this truth on your soul. If you don't lead your morning will lead you, and it will lead you straight back into the mindset you're trying to escape. You want a different life. Start with a different morning. Negative thinking doesn't knock on your door and announce its arrival. It creeps in quietly. It hides in your habits. It disguises itself as logic, caution, realism, or memory. And before you even realize it, it has taken over choices, opportunities, and years of your life. Let me be real with you. Negative thoughts don't just make you feel bad. They steal from you. They steal your energy before you even take action, your belief before you try, your passion before it's born, your progress before you start, your hope before you heal, your future before you build. Some people think doubt is harmless just because it's invisible. But invisible chains are still chains. You know what negative thinking really is. It's a thief that robs you in slow motion. It doesn't break in with noise. It drains you silently, one excuse at a time, one fear at a time, one not today at a time, one maybe later at a time, one memory of failure at a time. And here's the harsh truth. Most people don't fail because they tried and lost. They fail because they never tried at all, because their negative thoughts attacked them long before any real obstacle did. You ever notice this? When your mind is negative, even good things feel impossible. Even small steps feel heavy. Even opportunities feel like traps. Even compliments feel like lies. That's what happens when negativity is in control. It distorts reality. It warps your vision. You don't see life as it is. You see it through the lens of fear. And fear has a voice. It says things like, what if you fail? People will judge you. You're not ready. You're not good enough. Someone else is better. You always mess things up. Some of you have heard that voice for so long that you think it's your own. It's not. It's not wisdom. It's not caution. It's not instinct. It's conditioning. It's programming. It's the echo of old pain trying to survive inside a new season. Listen to me. You were not born doubting yourself. You learned to, and anything learned can be unlearned. But you cannot fight what you refuse to confront. Negative thinking is comfortable because it gives you a reason not to act. And not acting feels safer than trying and failing. But here's the catch. Not acting is still failure. You just experience it quietly. You think staying in the same place is avoiding risk, but the truth is, staying the same is the biggest risk of all. Because life moves with or without you. And if you don't choose your direction, your doubt will choose it for you. I need you to understand this. Your dream, your healing, your growth, none of it is taken by force. It is stolen by hesitation. It is stolen by overthinking. It is stolen by believing every dark thought that passes through your mind. You can't stop birds from flying over your head, but you can stop them from building a nest. Negative thoughts will appear, that's human, but letting them stay, multiply, dictate your choices, that's a decision. Let me say it even clearer. A negative thought is a suggestion, not a command. It's a spark, not a fire. It's a moment, not a verdict. And once you start treating it like something you can reject instead of something you must obey, you take your power back. Negative thinking doesn't disappear by accident. You have to break it on purpose. You have to challenge it. You have to catch it in the act and say, no, not today, not in my mind, not in my future. Because the life you want cannot grow in a mind that is poisoning its own soil. This isn't about pretending everything is perfect. This is about refusing to let negativity narrate your story. Your thoughts are not just reactions, they are choices. And every time you choose power over poison, clarity over chaos, faith over fear, you take back territory in your own mind. You want freedom. You want momentum. You want peace. Then you must declare war on the thoughts that are trying to quietly steal them. There's a reason so many people never break through mentally, not because they're weak, not because they're incapable, but because they keep trying to build a new life with the blueprint of their old pain. Let this sink in. You are not your past. But as long as you think you are, you will live like you are. Your past is an experience, not an identity. It's something you went through, not something you are. But negative thinking wants you to believe the opposite. Because if you believe you are your past, you'll stay trapped in it forever. You ever notice how fast your mind can bring up old pain? One mistake from years ago can still make you feel unworthy today. One rejection can still make you afraid to try again. One failure can still convince you you're not built for more. But here's the truth. Nobody told you enough. The old you is not the only you. The broken you is not the final you. The struggling you is not the permanent you. The doubting you is not the destined you. Some of you are dragging memories into battles they don't belong in. You're letting the past weigh down the present. And then you wonder why the future feels too heavy to lift. Let me say this straight. Your past was not a life sentence, it was a lesson plan. You survived things you thought would destroy you. You endured nights you didn't think you'd make it through. You've healed from wounds that once felt impossible. You grew through storms that tried to bury you. But negative thinking never celebrates that. It doesn't remind you of your strength. It reminds you of every scar. It tells you you failed before. You'll fail again. They left you then. Someone will leave you now. You messed up once. You'll ruin it again. You weren't enough then. You're not enough now. But listen to me carefully. Your past cannot speak unless you give it your voice. You don't owe your pain loyalty. You don't owe your failures a second home in your thoughts. You don't owe your old self a single explanation for your growth. There is a version of you that only exists on the other side of release. But you cannot meet them if you keep resurrecting dead moments. Let me break it down. The people who hurt you, they're not holding you back. Your memory of them is. The chances you didn't take, they're not limiting you. Now your regret is. The mistakes you made, they're not stopping your future. Your shame is the past, has no power except the power you feed it. Some of you keep reopening old chapters because you're afraid to turn the page. You reread your failures more than you write your victories. You replay your worst days more than you prepare for your best ones. You don't need to erase your story. You just need to stop giving the darkest parts of it the loudest voice. You are not the same person who went through that pain. You are not the same person who made that mistake. You are not the same person who didn't believe in themselves. You are not the same person who settled, who broke, who doubted. You've seen too much, survived too much, learned too much to still think like the version of you that didn't know better. And here's the most important truth. You don't heal by forgetting your past. You heal by refusing to live in it. Your past may have shaped you, but it does not own you. It may have hurt you, but it did not end you. It may have delayed you, but it did not disqualify you. You are not here by accident. You are not breathing by luck. You are not fighting for nothing. You are still here because there is still something for you to do. And you cannot do it if you keep letting old pain write new chapters today. Right now is a line in the sand. This is where you stop letting your history sabotage your possibility. You are not your past, but you are responsible for not letting it become your future. There's a voice inside your head that's been talking to you for years. Not the voice of wisdom, not the voice of faith, not the voice of possibility. I'm talking about the inner critic. The inner critic is not loud all the time. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it sounds reasonable. Sometimes it sounds like it's protecting you. But its mission is always the same: to shrink you, to silence you, to make you doubt what you're capable of. And the most dangerous thing about it, you start believing it's you. You ever hear that voice that tells you, you're not ready, you always mess up, you don't have what it takes, someone else can do it better, you're too late, who do you think you are? That's not honesty. That's not realism. That's not humility. That is sabotage, wearing the mask of caution. The inner critic shows up when something inside you tries to grow. It attacks the moment you move toward change. Because doubt only shows up when destiny does. Understand this. Your inner critic is not trying to protect you. It's trying to protect your comfort zone. It doesn't care if you're miserable, as long as you don't evolve. It doesn't care if you stay stuck, as long as you don't make a move. It doesn't care if you have dreams, as long as you never act on them. And here's the uncomfortable truth. You've been listening to it for so long that you've stopped questioning it. You've started calling it your personality. You've started calling it just who I am. You've started accepting it as fact. But let me be clear, that voice is not you. It was built by old pain, old insults, old failures, old comparisons, old fears, old environments that didn't believe. In youth voice, you're hearing is an echo from a season you have already outgrown. But as long as you let that critic narrate your thoughts, you will live a life beneath your ability, beneath your calling, beneath your purpose. You won't step forward not because you can't, but because the critic convinces you not to try. Think about how many opportunities died in your head before they ever had the chance to live in your reality. Think about how many dreams you've delayed not because you weren't ready, but because you believed a thought that told you you'd fail. The inner critic doesn't need you to quit. It just needs you to hesitate long enough to miss your moment. But hear me. You cannot silence the critic by agreeing with it. You silence it by challenging it. Next time it tells you you can't, watch me. Next time it says, you're not enough, you tell it, I'm becoming more every day. Next time it says, what if you fail? You say, what if I rise? Next time it says, they'll judge you. You say, they're not my limit. Next time it says, you'll look stupid. You say, looking stuck is worse. You don't fight the inner critic with silence. You fight it with new language, with truth, with courage, with repetition, because that critic is not powerful. It's just consistent. So, if you want to break it, you must become consistent with a different narrative. You must start speaking to yourself like someone who's going somewhere. You must start thinking like someone who refuses to stay where they are. And understand this, you are not trying to create a new voice. You're just trying to unmute the one that was buried, the voice of belief, the voice of courage, the voice of evidence from everything you've already survived, the voice that remembers your strength instead of your failures. Your future will not be built by the inner critic. It will be built by the inner champion you've been ignoring. This is the part where you draw the line and say, I hear that voice. I recognize that voice. But that voice no longer leads my life. From today forward, your critic may still speak, but it does not get the final word, because the life you want does not belong to the voice of limitation. It belongs to the voice of intention, creation, and conviction. And that voice is already inside you. It's just been waiting for you to pick it up and use it. Words don't just describe your reality. You don't rise into the life you want. You speak yourself into it. Some of you don't understand yet how powerful your voice is. You don't realize that what you say to yourself in private shapes what you experience in public. You say things like, I'm not confident, I'm unlucky, things never work out for me, I always struggle, I don't know if I'll ever make it. And you think you're just expressing your feelings. No, you're wiring your future. You're repeating a script you didn't write, but you're still performing it every day. Let me break this down clearly. Your mind listens to your voice more than anyone else's, not your parents, not your friends, not social media, not the world. You are the narrator of your own life, and the story you speak becomes the environment your mind learns to live in. If all you speak is defeat, don't be surprised when your spirit stops trying to win. If all you speak is fear, don't wonder why opportunity avoids you. If all you speak is doubt, don't expect conviction to suddenly appear. Some of you pray for strength but speak weakness every morning. Some of you want confidence but keep feeding your mind criticism. Some of you want progress but keep repeating the language of stagnation. Hear this. You don't have to feel powerful to speak powerfully. You don't have to feel ready to declare readiness. You don't have to feel confident to speak confidence into existence. Champions don't wait for the feeling. They create it. You don't attract what you want to attract, what you announce. Your words are signals to your future, instructions to your focus, blueprints for your actions. Say something long enough, and your mind starts building evidence around it. And guess what? You've already done this, just in the wrong direction. You've spoken your worries into patterns. You've spoken your fears into habits. You've spoken your limits into beliefs. It's time to flip the script. You need to start talking to yourself like someone who refuses to live on default. Is not about cheesy affirmations or pretending everything is perfect. This is about taking leadership over the conversations that happen inside your head. You want to break negative thinking. Then speak with intention. Speak with authority. Speak with direction. Say things like, I'm not who I was, growing past it. I might not know how yet, but I'm capable of figuring it out. I'm allowed to win. I deserve progress. I'm stronger than my doubt. My future is bigger than my fear. I don't chase confidence, I create it through action. Will those words feel natural at first? No. But neither did your self-criticism. You just repeated it until it became normal. This is the part nobody tells you. Your life changes when your language does, because your voice is not just sound, it's strategy. Your words don't just reflect your state, they direct your state. And here's something even deeper. Speaking life into yourself is not arrogance. It's self-rescue. You've spent years internalizing the voices of stress, shame, failure, and criticism. Now it's your turn to become your own source of strength. You can't wait for people to believe in you. You can't wait for the world to validate you. You can't wait for motivation to randomly show up. You must speak life into dry places. You must speak focus into chaos. You must speak vision into fear. You must speak power into pain. Your tongue is not small. It is a steering wheel. And every word you repeat is a direction your life starts to move toward. So from now on, watch your mouth. Not out of fear, but out of responsibility. Because if your language can build doubt, that means your language can build courage too. And once you start speaking life, your mind will stop settling for death. Pain is not always loud. Sometimes it sits inside you so quietly that people think you're fine while you're fighting battles nobody sees. But hear this clearly. Pain is not just something you survive. Pain is something you can weaponize. Most people run from their pain because they think it's a reminder of their weakness. But pain is actually evidence of your endurance, proof that you can carry more than you thought. You wouldn't still be here if pain had the final say. You wouldn't still be breathing if everything that tried to break you had succeeded. You're not weak because you've been hurt. You're powerful because you're still standing. The problem is not the pain itself. The problem is what you do with it. Some people use pain as a prison. They let it confine them, define them, limit them. Others use pain as fuel. They build with it, grow from it, and use it to transform. The pain you carry is either a weight that sinks you or a fire that builds you. And the difference is in how you interpret it. Think about every moment that hurt you: the betrayal, the rejection, the failure, the heartbreak, the disappointment, the loss, the humiliation, the opportunities that slipped away. Those weren't just wounds. Those were workshops. They built you in silence while the world thought you were breaking. You know why you feel things deeply. Because you're wired to transform, not to quit. Listen, there's gold in every hard moment you've lived through, but you'll never find it if you keep trying to bury the memory instead of extracting the meaning. So many people pray for strength, but avoid the very battles that create it. They want confidence without challenge, growth without struggle, wisdom without experience. But strength doesn't come from what's easy. Comfort doesn't build you, conflict does. Rest doesn't refine, your resistance does. You have pain that was not meant to paralyze you, it was meant to prepare you. You think your scars make you less. No, your scars are proof that you healed. Your scars are proof you're still alive. Your scars are proof that you didn't give up when you had every reason to. Don't hide them, use them. Don't resent them, redeem them. Don't silence them, speak from them. You have two options with your pain. Let it keep you trapped in the memory of what hurt you. Use it as raw material to build the version of you that fear can't handle. The people who rise aren't the ones with easy stories. They're the ones who refused to stay wounded. There's a part of you that only struggle can activate. There's a version of you that only heartbreak can unlock. There's a strength inside you that only loss can reveal. And here's something you must understand. Pain that is not transformed will always be transferred. If you don't use it with purpose, it will use you with destruction. Hurt people don't just hurt others sometimes. They hurt themselves by staying small. But there is another way you can turn pain into discipline, pain into passion, pain into clarity, pain into self-respect, pain into power. You may not have chosen what broke you, but you can choose what it builds in you. This is the moment you stop running from it. This is the moment you tell your pain, you didn't end me, you trained me. You will never live beyond the limits of your mind. You can change your clothes, your job, your environment, but if you don't change your thinking, your life will keep repeating the same cycles. You don't need a better year. You need a better mindset. You don't need more luck. You need mental leadership. You don't need everything to be perfect. You need to rewire the way you process your reality. Negative thinking is not just a mood, it's a mental pattern, a loop the mind runs because it's been trained to, and what's been wired through repetition can only be rewired through intention. Read that again. You are not stuck because you are weak. You are stuck because your mind has memorized limitation. Maybe you were raised around people who doubted everything. Maybe you were surrounded by fear, poverty, comparison, or low expectations. Maybe your failures trained your brain to expect more failure. Maybe your pain convinced you not to dream again. But here is the turning point. You didn't choose how your mindset was formed, but you do choose if you keep living with it. Your mind is not concrete, it's clay. It takes the shape of whatever thoughts you repeat. If you repeat fear, it shapes fear. If you repeat doubt, it shapes hesitation. If you repeat I can't, it shapes your ceiling. If you repeat I'm behind, it shapes procrastination. If you repeat I'll fail, it shapes avoidance. But if you repeat power, intention, discipline, and vision, your mind will reorganize itself around those commands. You are not fighting your mind, you are training it. Let me hit you with some truth. You don't break negative thinking by waiting to feel positive. You break it by disrupting your patterns and feeding your mind a new language, a new focus, and a new identity. This isn't motivation, it's mental construction. A mind wired for fear will always find reasons not to act. A mind wired for winning will always find a way. And the difference happens in the rewiring process. 1. Change. What you repeat to yourself, your thoughts, become beliefs through consistency. If you don't take control of that repetition, your past will keep reprogramming your present. You must start feeding your brain words that build instead of break. I'm capable of growth. I don't need permission to rise. Today is not yesterday. I outgrow doubt every time I act. I am becoming stronger. Daily, you say it until your nervous system starts to believe it. 2. Interrupt the loopsta. Moment your brain says, you can't, you answer, that's old programming. I move differently now. The moment it says, what if you fail, you answer, I'll handle that if it happens. Silence. The moment it says, this is just who you are, you answer, no, this is who I was. I write the next version. You don't negotiate with old patterns, you override them. 3. Associate with growth, not decay. Your mindset is shaped by the voices you hear. If you surround yourself with people and content that speak fear, scarcity, gossip, and defeat, your mind becomes a container for their limits. But if you fill your head with builders, winners, doers, and believers, your brain starts preparing for more. Environment is programming. 4. Act before your doubt finishes its sentence. Negative thinking loves hesitation. It needs time to convince you not to move. So you move before it gets the chance. Action rewires faster than affirmation. Every time you do the thing you're afraid of, your mind updates its definition of you. 5. Focus on evidence, not emotion. You've survived everything your mind told you would destroy you. You've overcome things you thought would end you. That's not motivational fluff, that's data. Use it. Tell your brain, if I was weak, I wouldn't still be here. If I was unworthy, I wouldn't have made it through that storm. If I couldn't grow, I wouldn't be evolving right now. You don't rewire your mind with hope, you rewire it with truth. Here's the deepest part. A negative mindset is not a personality trait. It's a survival mechanism that overstayed its welcome. It protected you once. Now it's poisoning you, and you don't need that version of protection anymore. You need direction. You need alignment. You need an internal voice that matches where you're going, not where you've been. From this moment on, stop saying, that's just how I think. No, that's just how you've been thinking. You're not stuck. You're patterned. And patterns can be broken. You don't need a new life. You need a new lens. And the moment you change the way you speak to yourself, interrupt your old loops, and choose action over hesitation, your mind will have no choice but to evolve. You're not rewiring your brain to become someone new. You're rewiring it to become who you were always capable of being. Your greatest enemy has never been failure. It's not money. It's not your past, your environment, or your circumstances. It's the voice in your head that tells you to stay the same. That voice is subtle. It doesn't scream, it whispers. It waits for quiet moments. It waits for dreams to show up. It waits for you to get motivated. Then it slams the door. It says, who do you think you are? What if you embarrass yourself? What if they laugh? You're too late. You're too broken. You're not good enough. And here's the dangerous part. You've heard it for so long that you think it's you. But it's not. That voice is a memory, a collection of fears passed down, a replay of someone else's doubts, a recording made during pain and disappointment. It is not your truth. Negative thinking is not self-awareness, it's self-sabotage, dressed as protection. Your mind learned to tear you down so you would not risk being hurt again. But in trying to protect you from pain, it's been protecting you from progress. Read that again. Your old mindset isn't protecting your life. It's preventing it. You've got to make a decision. Will you keep negotiating with that inner enemy? Or will you finally step into mental leadership? Call Itotitha next time that voice starts speaking. Don't sit in silence. Don't let it narrate the story. Say it in your head or out loud. That's not me. That's programming. I don't listen to fear. I lead fear. You can talk, but you don't decide. This is a new reality. Get out of the way. You don't argue with I2, override it. Replace the SCRIP2. Don't defeat negative thoughts by trying to stop them. You defeat them by drowning them in truth. When it says, you can't, you say, watch me. When it says, you're not ready, you say, I grow by doing. When it says, people will judge you, you say, their opinion is not my oxygen. When it says, you always fail, you say, I'm still here, and that means I win. Repetition rewires light. Why the voice won't disappear overnight. It's been practicing for years. But every time you answer it with strength, Instead of surrender, you take back territory in your own mind. This is not about fake positivity. It's about mental authority. Here's the truth. You've been IG no Ryan Jur. Doubt has never built anything for you. Your fear has never given you peace. Your hesitation has never made you stronger. Every good thing in your life came from courage, not comfort. So why are you letting the weakest part of you make the decisions? The shift starts UNOW from today forward. That voice doesn't go unanswered. You are the one who speaks with final authority in your mind. You don't need permission to rise. You don't need confidence to begin. You don't need perfection to make progress. You just need to stop letting the inner enemy finish the sentence. Say this to yourself right now. I am not my fear. I am not my past. I am not my excuses. I am the voice that leads, not the voice that limits. This is the beginning of mental dominance. Your future doesn't start when fear gets quiet. It starts when you get louder. This is it, the moment you stop waiting. The moment you stop negotiating with your weakness. The moment you step into the version of yourself you were always meant to become. You've spent years carrying a mind that was not built for your destiny. You've survived storms that were supposed to break you. You've fought battles no one even knows about. And after everything, you're still here. Don't you see what that means? You were not kept alive to live on repeat. You were not given another morning to think the same thoughts, feel the same fears, and stay in the same place. You woke up today because there is still something in you that the world needs, that purpose you forgot, that promise you buried, that fire you used to feel. It's not gone, it's waiting for you to claim it. Your old life ends when your old mindset ends. You don't need the world to believe in you. You don't need everyone to understand you. You don't need perfect timing. You need one thing, a decision, a real one. A no turning back, no more negotiating, no more apologizing decision. Say it with your chest. I'm done playing small. I'm done doubting myself. I'm done letting negative thoughts run my life. I decide who I am now. That is not motivation. That is identity. No more half versions of YOU from now on. If the voice in your head tries to pull you back, you override it. If fear rises, you move anyway. If your past shows up, you don't argue with it to outgrow it. If doubt knocks, you answer with action. You don't wait until you're confident. You build confidence by doing the thing. You don't wait for clarity. You create clarity by moving forward. You have one job now. Become the version of you that your negative thinking tried to prevent. The version that doesn't settle. The version that doesn't break when life gets loud. The version that answers fear with movement. The version that honors the promise they made to themselves when things were dark. You don't owe the world perfection, but you owe yourself progress. Listen closely. You will not go back after this. You will not shrink down to fit places you've outgrown. You will not apologize for wanting more out of life. You will not let the old voice win any longer. The only way you lose is by quitting. And you're done quitting. The clock isn't WITING. Someday is dead. Later is a lie. The door is open now, not next year, not next month, not when you feel ready. Now, right now, this second. Because this is not just another day. This is the day you stop living under the weight of your own mind. Say it one last time. I am not my negative thoughts. I am not my past. I am not my fear. I am the decision I make today. I am the proof that change is possible. I am done waiting. This is my time. And when the world asks what changed, you won't say, I felt motivated. You'll say, I decided. Because that's what this moment is. Not inspiration-activation. Now go become the person your old mindset could not handle. Your rise begins now.